Don't forget, you can reach the latest episode of Potomac Watch anytime. Just ask your smart speaker, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast.
From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Welcome back. Let's turn to one of the more bizarre stories of the week. This is the theory being propagated now by Donald Trump backers, internet pundits, that Taylor Swift is preparing to throw the 2024 election. Remember, Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce, a football player for the Kansas City Chiefs, who won an upset this past Sunday to go to the Super Bowl. And Alicia, according to some versions of this theory, the Super Bowl is going to be rigged, or Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are in a fake relationship. And this is all aimed at some sort of Joe Biden endorsement that will swing the 2024 election. And lest people think that I'm making this up, here is a podcast host, a right-wing podcast host, quote, "The NFL is totally rigged for the Kansas City Chiefs, Taylor Swift, Mr. Pfizer, Travis Kelce, all to spread Democrat propaganda." And Mr. Pfizer, that refers to the fact that Travis Kelce, I guess, was in a commercial at one point for a COVID shot. Let's listen to Nikki Haley on CNN yesterday addressing this theory.
I don't know what the obsession is. Taylor Swift is allowed to have a boyfriend. Taylor Swift is a good artist. I've taken my daughter to Taylor Swift concerts before. To have a conspiracy theory of all of this is bizarre. Nobody knows who she's going to endorse. But I can't believe that that's overtaken our national politics. I mean, right now you've got 60% of American families living paycheck to paycheck. We've got a border that's out of control. We've got wars happening around the world. The last thing I really think we need to be worried about is who Taylor Swift is dating and what conspiracy theory is going to have her endorsing a person for president.
Alicia, what do you make of this? And am I wrong to start with the question, do we live in unserious times?
Well, I agree with everything that Nikki Haley just said. I mean, I don't travel in the fever swamps. So the first I ever even read about this was when the Journal published an editorial. It still boggles my mind how people could be speculating this. And I think your statement, do we live in unserious times, that's probably an understatement. But I think some people, the Taylor Swift would like to say haters are going to hate. And you just need to shake it off. I think that's probably the best advice for Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift right now. But it does make the faction of the right, which includes apparently Vivek Ramaswamy and some other Trump supporters, look absolutely deranged. I think that's a poor reflection on the Republican Party right now. All I can say is, God help us.
Here is the statement from Vivek Ramaswamy. "I wonder who's going to win the Super Bowl next month, and I wonder if there's a major presidential endorsement coming from an artificially, culturally propped up couple this fall." And Kim, a couple thoughts, I guess, that I would add here. One is that what happens in the fever swamp doesn't always stay in the fever swamp. And if I had to guess, I would say that a lot of these people, including Vivek Ramaswamy, do not actually think the Super Bowl is rigged, do not actually believe in this conspiracy theory. They're trying to be interesting. They're trying to be entertaining. They're trying to be outrageous on the internet. And there's one video I watched by one of these pundits, 40 minutes long, has about 250,000 views, says the CIA is involved in that. And again, I don't think he believes that. But the problem is that when they take this approach of just trying to be interesting at the risk of saying things that aren't true, you end up with a situation where it gets reported on, and Nikki Haley gets asked about it on CNN. And there are swing voters watching CNN who start to think, these MAGA Republicans are a bit of an odd group. They're a bit out there. I don't know that I want to be associated with them. And then, Kim, my other thought here is Taylor Swift endorsed President Biden in 2020. And if all it is going to take for President Biden to win again in 2024 is to get a repeat of that endorsement, what does that suggest about whether Donald Trump is really a formidable candidate in November?
Well, the whole conversation is obviously absurd. But I would try to make one serious point about it, which is that absurdity rarely appears in a vacuum. There's usually something that gives it the legs that it needs to go or gain traction. And I think one of the sad things about this is it's a reflection, absurd as it is, it's a reflection, I think, of the great consternation a lot of conservatives had over the shenanigans that happened in the 2020 election and all the changes to the laws that Democrats rammed through in the lead up to it under the guise of COVID, and therefore the lack of trust that people had in things. I think, you can add to that people's lack of trust in institutions. If anybody had asked, 6 years ago or 7 years ago, could you really believe that our FBI would proceed with an investigation claiming the president of the United States was a Russian plant? I mean, it sounds insane, right? But they actually did that. And so when you get scenarios like that, it leads people to think that anything kooky or crazy is possible. Again, this is absurd. The whole thing is absurd. But that is the sort of sadder context in which I think that you see this happening. And I agree. The absurdity is such that if you just step back and look at this clearly, if people really believe that all it's going to take is an endorsement from a pop singer to swing the election and guarantee that Trump can't win, maybe we need to be looking for a nominee that isn't quite that vulnerable, that he can be taken out by Taylor Swift. I think that there's a certain rational thought here that is eluding some people, obviously. And one last thought, it's a pity, too, that I also think that one of the reasons this is getting such magnification is because a lot of, like you said, CNN are running these clips of it. Some people are obviously a bit kooky and looking for attention, and sometimes it's wiser not to give it to them.
Thank you, Kim and Alicia. Thank you all for listening. You can email us at pwpodcast@wsj.com. If you like the show, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back next week with another edition of Potomac Watch.